Yes,
That's right,
excellent.
that's fine.
Hello, welcome to this evening's exciting episode of Shadowrun with me here in the back of Beyond in the humble reaches of my Twitch channel. Can I just say at the present moment in time, I've just put the heating on, and I'm got my hands wrapped around a cup of coffee here. So I'm not typing or anything until my hands warmed up. I'm just in from work, and thank you very much for Chugawugga for bringing me home, so I'm in time for this, which is very much appreciated. And I've left my water bottle at work, so that's annoying me now because I've got nothing to sip out of. But anyway, we're going to get straight on by letting you know who the people are playing tonight and the characters which they are playing. And first of all, we are going to go down there to Master Chugawugga.
Hello, I'm Chugawugga. I'm playing Stanley Lovely, who goes by the name of Studley on the streets. He used to be an investigative journalist for the SBC, that's the Southside Broadcasting Company for any of you who's in Southside. But he's now the mage of the party. He's in his late 40s, slightly overweight, with a receding hairline. Not as receding as mine, but still receding. He also wears round-rimmed glasses, which he seems to constantly have to push back up onto his nose. Now, he does live at home with his 78-year-old mother, who has various medical conditions, including diabetes, angina, high blood pressure, and lymphedema. But yes, that's...
Can I just say, Chugawugga, that I'm a bit disappointed that you don't actually have some wired rimmed glasses to wear.
Do you want to know something?
No.
I should really.
Yeah, I
but
think...
what would I do about my hair? Because...
Well, no, you could just put
Just
a pair...
draw it on with a marker.
Yeah, I just think it would be really good that you had your glasses on, that you keep pushing.
I'll do that when Longshanks wears a duster and a cowboy hat.
What, just like a duster that you do the polishing with?
Yeah, just a duster around his shoulders.
Just so like on his head.
Yeah.
Yellow duster.
Yeah.
That'd be so funny. A yellow duster, yeah.
Yeah.
I know he's gone to get one now. And and next we have Longshanks EPG.
Hi guys, I'm Longshanks EPG, and as you can see, I'm now wearing my my duster on my head. I play Hector, who is the cowboy fanatic face of the group, so he does all the chatting and all the social interactions, and he's also pretty damn good with a gun as well. And he likes taking damage, which is not a good thing.
I'm wearing dusters.
He's like a bullet sponge.
Yeah.
He is the bullet sponge.
If anybody's
he
going
wants to be
to
a
get
tank. I
knocked
don't think
unconscious
he's
in the
cut out to be a
venture,
tank.
it's going to be Hector.
So I was trying to
That's
figure.
what he's there for.
I was trying to think which adventure he was good with a gun in, but
You weren't there for that one.
was I not there? Did I miss that one?
No.
Well, he normally dies before he gets to be good with his gun, but he is
Yeah.
good with his gun.
It was one of the ones that he was doing in a BLT that he was up on.
A
Better
bacon
Than
leg.
Life.
Oh, sorry, I thought you
Better
meant.
Than Life.
I thought
Shit.
I was
It's
thinking.
Shadowrun. It's not a bacon and lettuce tomato sandwich.
That's what I was
It's a
trying to think.
Shadowrun
I was
term.
like,
Sorry, I was trying to use Shadowrun terms.
Okay, yeah, well done. You were very successful.
God knows what the dreck's happening.
Okay, chummer.
Keep the maid.
Okay,
Keep the
chummer.
maid.
And finally, down in the corner, we have Master Big Beastie.
Hi, I'm Big Beastie, and I play Billy Bob. He is the good-looking orc, the tank of the group, and also the chauffeur. He's really good at driving, and he likes killing maids apparently.
He likes killing anything, just as long as we don't get karma at the end.
Is he really good at driving? What is his skill at driving?
No, he's just been very lucky.
Yeah.
He just has a high agility.
That's what I was thinking. I think his ground craft is sort of like 2, is it?
2.
Yeah. So I don't know. In order to roll 2 dice, and in order to get 1 success, you have a 55% 0.56% chance of success.
I thought it was 55.53.
No, you're wrong. It's 0.56. So pay attention.
That explains it then.
Okay, so let me give you a quick synopsis of what's gone on beforehand. So you join us at the beginning of a run, because last time there was the party were hired along with a Deca rigger, who joins the party, called Athena. They were hired to change the will of an old man without him knowing. Okay, without anybody knowing about the will change. And the idea was to get in and out without people knowing at all. And everything went according to plan almost, until there was till Billy Bob stabbed a guard and then a maid in quick succession. And then I think Studley blew a window out.
That was a diversion
with a spell, and then Hector, who was in disguise, I think you killed somebody, did you, or something?
Hector didn't kill anyone.
No, they got stunned.
That was the problem. He didn't kill anyone.
Yeah, that was it. He was busy stunning people, and then hence the issue, and everything went wrong, and everything was going up really well up to a certain point. And poor Betty...
Like the start.
Yeah, poor Betty the maid, who secretly, can I just say, secretly had quite a crush on Hector, and really did think that she was going to be in the newspaper and be one of these important people. She, unfortunately, met a gruesome end on the end of Billy Bob's blade.
Hector
was in the newspaper.
Hector would bring up a bit of beef with this, but he's too scared of being beaten up by an angry orc.
And even worse, the will got changed back to what it was, and there were two siblings who were twins, a male and a female, and the male got the money back. And the female was so devastated that she actually took her own life. And it ended up that the party, in front of Mr. Johnson, their Mr. Johnson called Charlie, had a rather severe telling off. And he was highly disappointed about their actions and their lack of expertise. And really, I mean, he virtually said, you really need to book your ideas up, guys. Otherwise, the only way is down.
In Studley's defence, he would like to say that was his first ever run that he had done.
Correct. And, as Charlie mentioned, he said, there's always an excuse for something. And that's how we left it. And the party sulked off back to their relevant accommodation. And that was it. That was the end of the run. And I do believe you got no karma and 534 credits.
Yeah.
And then that was it. So hopefully you've had 2 weeks, guys. Hopefully that your characters' sheets are up to date, that you've adjusted your ammunition, etc., because you did fire off some shots. So hopefully you have readjusted that. Now I know, Billy Bob, you have gained positive quality as part of your spending your karma, and you have gained, you decided to go for toughness, didn't you? So that it actually increases your body resist. So it's going to get to the point, I think, Billy Bob, that I'm going to be able to drive a tank into you, and the tank will come off badly. That's all I go like that. And you went off, and yeah, I agree with what you were saying just before we came on air. I think you've probably spent a couple of months working out, down at the gym, pumping some iron, really sort of like working on your your biceps, your triceps, your lats, your quads and everything, and now you're just sort of like, yes, so, you know, and you spend a little bit of the time sort of like posing in front of the mirror, just showing off your rippling muscles. And we will come up with a suitable cost halfway through this adventure when I take a look at the rules in a moment of dullness. Oh no, a moment when you're discussing and I've got nothing else to do. Okay, so let's move on and let's... nobody else... Studley, you don't have any karma.
No.
Hector's saving his karma, and Athena currently doesn't have any karma at all. So guys, before we start the adventure, is there anything else you would like to know or anything else you would like to ask me?
I don't think so, thank you.
Nope, I'm all good.
Brilliant. Let me just call that up. I found a new website.
Is that R2D2 in between the troll and the mage on the background picture?
R2D2 between the troll and the mage.
This bit here.
Oh yeah, the little dome building.
And then you wonder why you have no karma. That's all I can say.
Oh, now how do I erase? Oh, I highlight. No, I don't highlight. Do I? Now, oh, everything's gone wrong.
You're as bad as me in Mithras. I keep killing myself. I keep pressing the little X to get out of the thing.
Right, well, it's all right. I've sorted it.
Okay, so yes, I'll look at trading costs in a minute, I think.
Okay, move that over there.
Excellent.
Right.
Okay then, so
Probably.
it's a couple of months and Hector's been lounging around, imagining himself as a quick draw cowboy. You hear every now and again from Athena, so sort of like sending you various snippets of information about newsreel stories and possible jobs. Billy Bob spends the time pumping iron and working up his biceps, etc. And Studley splits his time between looking after his mother and fumbling through spell lists, etc., etc. And it's about after 2 months that you get the rather familiar call from Charlie, your Mr. Johnson, who sort of like sends you all a message that sounds almost like reluctant. There seems to be a slight, even though it's a text, there seems to be almost like there's a few ellipses in it, a few dots in it, and he's almost like, you get the feeling that he might have tried everybody else.
Everybody else is busy.
Yeah, and it's just sort of like the only person or the only people who are actually left are you guys. And he gives you the usual information to meet at the warehouse where you normally meet for your meetings with Charlie, and instructs you that, as usual, because he knows it's easier for Studley, to meet at roughly about 10:30 in the evening on tonight. And I'm just moving Studley's new character across to the area because he's changed the colour of his outside ring. And
I've got a big ring compared to the other two.
Yeah, a thicker one, I think it is. Okay, and so we come to about 10 o'clock, 10:15. You meet, as usual, outside the warehouse. You can see yourselves there.
Well, once again, Studley is the probably the last to show up. He turns up on his little moped with his helmet on and his biker jacket, which doesn't quite match the moped that he's on. It's he pulls up and he puts the little prop up and sets it back on its wheel and takes off his helmet. sticks it in the back box and adjusts his glasses, pushes them back onto his nose, and goes up to Hector and Billy Bob and says, good evening, gentlemen. How are you?
Not bad, thank you.
I put a picture of Studley's scooter up just so you can all see it.
It seems that we might have another job going. Have you heard anything about it?
No, I think Charlie is waiting for us to all arrive before he divulges the details on this one.
Right. He pushes his glasses back onto his nose. Best get to it then.
After you, good
Bob's
sir.
going to spend his time like posing in the reflection in the glass of himself.
Well, that's weird, isn't it? That black bar around it.
That what side?
The black bar around it. Look, it's sort of like at a different level.
Oh yes, yeah.
Yeah. So Studley's going to go. In. Is the radio in the in the same place as it
you
was?
can see it. You should be able to see it. It's a little purple square or oblong there.
I'm going to close the door behind.
Oh yeah.
Stop ghouls getting in. And he's going to go up, and once he's close to it, he's going to take out his piece of electronic paper and his little stylus as if he's about to start taking notes.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Okay. So
does somebody want to turn it on?
well, as you sort of like stand there, the it's almost as if the sensor triggers something, and it almost like comes to life, and you notice that the little area goes bzzz, and it goes up, and there's a little light comes on, and you hear the familiar voice of Charlie at the other end, and he sort of like says, I presume Athena is here. And you hear a voice that comes through your communicators. And she says, all present and correct, Charlie. I am here. And
Studley's going to say, good evening, Charles. How are you?
Good evening, all. Good evening, Athena.
Good evening, gentlemen, says Athena. Now then, he says, you need to, Charlie, he says, you need to understand how things work in the Shadowrun world. He says, clients contact me, and then when they need a job to be completed, and then I tell them about suitable runners. They might ask for a really good group who is good at infiltration, or a group that can deal with a wealth of strong, capable men and women, or some kind of magical threat, or even some kind of rigging or decker, and that's how it works. Now, you are new to my stable of runners. So, quite frankly, gentlemen and lady, you need to build up your reputation. And it's like a rating system, if you think about it. The more capable you are, the more likely you are to receive jobs. And, in return for this, the more pay I am able to offer you. Do you all understand that?
Just out of interest, what's our rating at the moment?
Have you heard of negative numbers?
Yes. Those are numbers below zero, normally.
Somewhat below them. So, gentlemen and lady, as you could imagine, your reputation is somewhat limited at the moment. Hence, the number of jobs and the possibility of jobs And the price people are prepared to pay for you is quite low. Indeed, on several times this week when I've said, or this month, when I've said I have a good group of runners for that, your reputation appears to be going before you. And several clients have actually, for the first time in a long time, terminated their call with me at the mention of your names.
That's not good.
Yes, that is not good for you and for us.
So, gentlemen and lady, it is quite simple. Become more successful, and then more jobs will become more available, and more importantly, the price tag that you will be given will be even higher and more generous. And of course, my cut at that point will become ever so slightly lower. And of course, when you are not at the top, you have to take what you can. There is no option. There is no variation. You just have to take the job and the price that is agreed for on. Gentlemen and lady, life at the bottom is rather hard. It's like,
Yes, but on the bright side, we can only go upwards.
it's like that bottom-dwelling fish. You know, everything sinks to the bottom, and the only thing the fish ends up eating is, well, shall we just call it detritus for the time being, since I wouldn't want to foul the lady's ears.
Studley's going to write that down, detritus.
So, would you believe, gas shock horror, I have a job for you. Can I just say, I refused the one about which involved sweeping out the local store down in Southside. I thought even that was below me. However, I have got a rather simple exchange for you to do. Simple exchange. Notice the word there. Simple. Okay, so this is how it goes, runners. I will give you the job. This is the only job I have. It is not the case I have multiple jobs for you. And if you come back in 6 months' time, the job will still be the same. This is the only job that people are prepared to pay you for. So, be prepared. It is a simple exchange. A small network company is willing to pay you, don't fall down when you hear this, 2,000 credits each to facilitate an exchange, returning an extracted researcher back to the company for a set amount of cash. The money has to be returned. The opposing company will pay for the exchange, and the money has to be returned to the employing company. The asset, however, is expendable if needed.
I don't quite understand the brief.
At which point do you not understand, Master Studley? Did you get past simple?
I got past the simple. Does everybody else understand?
We have to swap an employee for cash. I'm assuming that's what I got from that.
Billy Bob's scratching his head at simple.
Right. Well, I'll follow. I'll follow Mr. Hector's lead on this. Right. What other information can you give us on the job?
Well, the data, as usual, gentlemen and lady, the data package is ready to be sent to your comlinks for your perusal once you have accepted the job. all of a sudden you notice on your comm link appears like a green button that says accept, and just by it is a number, and you notice straight away before anything happens that it changes to 1, and it's obvious that Athena has probably pressed it or virtually pressed it already.
Studley will press it before the other two.
Hector will also press it.
And then do a fist pump because he was second.
Bebop presses it.
Excellent, gentlemen and lady. The data package is now sent to your comlinks. And you all notice that you've received a small package of data. Not very big, but what do you expect for 2,000 credits? And the communicator, you just hear one more word from Charlie. He says, please try on this one. The next job down is cleaning toilets at the local supermarket. And it goes, ktch, and the antenna goes, zzz.
Oh, I wonder how much that pays. Yeah, I was a bit confused about the about the job, but I mean, you two have obviously picked it up okay, so we'll just play it from. I'll just go with your lead.
Okay.
Shall we find somewhere to maybe have a look at this information? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That sounds good. Let's do that. Where would you suggest, Dudley?
Just out of interest, if you did want to use any of the rooms in this warehouse, it does look pretty protected. You've got a room upstairs, you've got the bathroom there as well, you've got a seating room. Everything else is just sort of like it's not derelict. It is clean though, so you do have this room up here. I think if you can see where I'm pinging.
Okay, so
let's go up there.
We'll go up there, and Studley's going to access the data file on his comm link to see what information is available for the job.
Okay then, so quite simply, the information is as follows. A quantum computer company called Qubit 64, that's QU, then bit, B-I-T, it's all one word, so Qubit 64, borrowed, shall we say, Matrix developer from their rival company 007 Byte, and that's Byte with a Y, so it's B-Y-T-E 007. Both are network companies. They both work slightly outside Southside, and they both work. You don't know what they do or anything like that. That's just what it actually states. And apparently, a few months back, it was rumored that a person called Max Sinclair from Qubit 64 had developed a new type of agent. Okay, and 007 Byte actually extracted him in order to interrogate him. Okay, in order to sort of like find out what was going on. Now, you are actually being hired. You're actually being hired by the people who extracted him. So 007 Byte actually extracted him from Qubit 64. They extracted him, and they did some interrogation. But unfortunately, during interrogation, they found nothing out. But also, unfortunately, Max Sinclair died in the process. Okay, so this is somewhat of a problem, because they have agreed to give him back. So what they have done is that a member of 007 Byte has decided to be masked, and in order to look like Max Sinclair, in order to transfer him back into Qubit 64. Now, that will happen, and they are going to pay the price, the kingly sum of 100,000 credits to get him back. However, as you can remember, it's not really him. It's actually going to be a security person from 007 Byte, who will then go into Qubit 64 and melt into the background.
So essentially, we're helping to insert an industrial spy into
Correct.
the rival company to get the data. For them to get the data, but that's not for us. We're just handing the delivery over.
You are just doing the... Oh, there is one thing as well. Qubit 64 has said that they will only do the crossover, the exchange, if Max Sinclair comes with somebody else that they recognize. And that is going to be, they have asked for the head of network security, to network research, actually, sorry, to actually accompany Max Sinclair on the exchange.
Have they said anything else, like other numbers? Is it just those two, or is it like a minimum amount of people that can be in there? So, for example, could Max Sinclair notice the whatchamacallit, for example, Hector, go there with Billy Bob and Studley as security guards, or is it just
Is there a limit on how many people can go for the exchange?
There's
basically.
there's nothing stated. The only conditions of the exchange, and it does say at the bottom of your data file, by the way, more information to follow. The basic setup of the exchange is that Max Sinclair obviously needs to be there, and so does the head of research on 007 Byte side, and they will go to what you assume will be a designated point, and you will hand over Max Sinclair, who is not actually Max Sinclair, and collect the 100,000 credits. And remember, that money needs to go back to 007 Byte. But please remember, in the initial description, they did mention that the asset was expendable. So basically, in the job description, if you wanted to accidentally kill the person who was set up as Max Sinclair, they're quite happy about that, as long as you got the 100,000 credits and you can return it to 007 Byte.
So the head of research is just so that they know that 007 is basically playing by the books.
Yeah, good point. Exactly that.
Okay. After reading all of this, Hector is going to turn to Studley and say, obviously, being new to this whole mage situation, is there anything you can do to help this? Would you be able to make someone look like someone, like I had with the ring in the last mission, or because that way we don't even have to try and sell that the head of research is actually there, because we could disguise either myself or Billy Bob or even yourself as that person.
Yes, well, I mean, I do have various unique spells at my disposal. One of them which would, yes, actually help me or somebody else, whoever is decided to look and sound like somebody else. And yes, that is a possibility.
Okay, so that's one option. Hector's also going to quick scan through again, and he's going to look for either a date and location, if that's given in the information, or if that's not there yet. That's not there. Obviously, if we can, we want to try and make it somewhere that is slightly less obvious if it goes wrong. Thinking worst case scenario, like the last one, went south quite quickly. So we want somewhere where we're not going to be accidentally shooting civilians.
So what exactly are we? What exactly is the plan?
Oh, it's pretty simple. We will collect our the person we are collecting from 007 bytes. We will then drive to the location, which I assume will be given fairly soon. Make the exchange, take the money back. Quite simple.
No, I was actually meaning a bit more in depth. So, who do you want me to make look like the chief of research of 007?
Hector will give a quick glance to Billy Bob and then go, I think that better be me.
Right, okay.
I'm quite happy for that.
Billy Bob's found some chewing gum that's stuck on the table and he's currently trying to pick it off with his hand spur. And he's just going with his hand blade.
And then obviously with
Say again, sorry.
you,
What did Billy Bob say then?
I was going to say he catches a glimpse of himself from the window and he's like,
yeah, he's just sort of like
in front of it, like tensing his muscles.
Like, yeah, exactly. He's just going, yeah.
And then we will obviously bring along, unless it's stated otherwise in the information that is to follow, we will obviously bring along yourself and the poser over here to act as guards on the ground. And then he's going to turn to Athena and say, Athena, would you be able to run Overwatch?
She says, She says, I could certainly provide surveillance.
Would we not be better off having Mr. Bob as the person who was masked?
Hector's going to turn to Billy Bob and go, Billy Bob, would you be able to pretend you know about computers in case they ask you who you are and what you do? Would you be happy with that? If not, then I am more than happy to do that.
Billy Bob shakes his head, confident, like, yeah, I could do that, and like at the same time turn around and start smashing his fists on the table.
Well, I'll leave it in your capable hands to decide who would be best to have the mask spell on.
I think in this situation, it's best to be myself, and then because we've always got Billy Bob's going to be there anyway, whether he's there standing with us as in security, and perhaps we should get hold of some.
Yeah,
maybe
my only views on the actual encounter would have been that Mr. Bob is very intimidating, and it's going to put people, how shall we say, they're not going to be too easy seeing him about, really, are they? And if there was any negotiation to do at the meeting when we hand over, then we would not have anybody who was capable of doing that, because you would be looking like the chief of research for 007.
That is also true. Or perhaps you should disguise yourself, and then I can do the talking, and Billy Bob can just be there in the background, doing as you said, but for the opposite reasons, to make sure that encourage nothing to happen.
I'm quite easy to do whichever you think is the best solution to it. It's not. I can see good points and bad points on all of it. So it's totally up to you.
Well, shall we go with the latter one then? So you disguise yourself as the extra person, the head of the networking,
Right.
and then that way, as you say, I am free to talk if need be, and Billy Bob is free to intimidate the hell out of anyone if he's so needed to.
Right. Okay.
And we can always explain in a way that because they are expecting a group of runners to handle the exchange, and it would be a bit odd if we don't appear as a group of runners.
Why are they expecting a group of runners? Are they bringing a group of runners as well?
Well,
Will
I
you both not
merely
play with computer?
I think we definitely need more information about the job, when it's happening, where it's happening. We also need to try to meet this head of research at 007 Bytes, because for me to actually, or for me to make somebody else, or for me to actually look like this person, I am going to have to observe him for a while in detail.
Okay. Yeah, we can. I'm sure we can get that arranged. We will need to obviously get in contact with 007 Bytes and make ourselves known to them anyway, because obviously they have hired.
I presume that we're picking up Max Sinclair from the from 007 Bytes lab, research premises, whatever it's called.
I would assume so as well. I'm guessing that would be in the info package that is to come, as it's not already in the bits we have been given so far.
Can Studley just do a matrix search on the quantum or qubit 64 and see where it comes up that they're located?
Does he have some kind of? Is he searching via his comlink, or does he have some?
Via his comlink, yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
So he's got AR gloves, so he'll just bring up a virtual keyboard and type in qubit 64 and see what comes up on their website. Specialization, yes.
Two successes. Okay, so Qubit 64 website is really their virtual area on the Matrix is quite prestige and posh. It's definitely not a company that lives in Southside at all. You think it probably lives in central London somewhere. It's quite big. It has sort of like very white reflecting building, it appears to be, and it's one of these that has almost like these false looking people, as if they're sort of like business shots from the website. But you notice that as you stare at it or you hover over the page for a little bit longer, you notice that they actually start to move and walk in and out as if it's a real life shot. You know it's probably not real life because it's quite light and the sun is shining, and there's no rain, and you realize that it's quite at night. The details of it talks about Qubit 64. They're developers on the Matrix. They do a lot of research, and they mainly specialize in AI within computer programs. So they don't actually make computer programs that a deco necessarily would use. They make more sort of like automated programs or agents that would actually do basic jobs, such as running scans, doing analysis, reporting back.
Okay, is there any information on key employees. You know, sometimes if you go onto, say, like a solicitor's web page nowadays, it'll go through the various people who are in charge of each.
Yeah,
sort of.
Well, the CEO is somebody called. Let me just find it. Called Dr. Gillian Cooper. Okay, and she's been the CEO for some time now, near on 15 years, and their head of is it the head of
research,
head of network research?
Yeah.
That is somebody that's called Gillian Somerville.
Okay. I want to do the same for 007 Byte.
Yeah, cool.
And I want to see, I want to try to get the similar information. 7 successes.
Wow. That was a bit of a difference, wasn't it?
No.
You actually
make
got
sure
8.
I don't have my edge on.
You actually got 8, but because of your limit, you can only get 7.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, so
That's an awesome roll. Well done,
you see Studley sort of like moving his gloves around for a little bit longer, and you get 007 Bytes. It's not as flash as Qubit 64. There's no moving figures on the website. Their building doesn't look as good. It looks rather stonish and not as prestige as the Qubit 64. You also notice that they are also to do with developing AI sort of like programs known as agents. You also notice that the writing is less. It's not sort of like saying, it's not written in a very positive way. It's almost like saying we continue to develop, we strive towards being, rather than Qubit 64 was much more we are doing this, we are the best company.
They sound like they're more of an up and coming company rather than one that's been.
Yeah, you also notice that that there's limited staff in 007 Byte, and there's their CEO, who's called Dr. Marjorie Joe, just J-O on the end, is sort of like, has only been there for 2 years. And you figure that's quite unusual. And you notice on the staff page, there's some people's names that have been there, and then their pictures have been deleted and the email has been deleted, and it's just sort of like, it's just as if they've left. And
what about the head of research for 007 Byte?
Yeah, the head of research for 007 Byte is somebody called Professor John Markham.
Malcolm.
Markham.
Billy Bob's got a smile on his face because he sees Studley moving his hands around, and it reminds him of Faze. Yeah, he's gonna comment this to Cowboy
Hector. Hector's going to agree and go, yeah, it is rather fancy, isn't it?
Apart from the Faze did everything by a DUI.
Apart from the fact that Faze just went, just slump in a corner. And Hector will say this, he said, apart from the fact that Faze used just to fall asleep in the corner.
How long, does it say how long John Markham has been there?
No, it doesn't at all, but it doesn't say much about anybody on the website. and their business attributes are quite limited.
Okay. Does he look at an old gentleman or a youngish?
No,
with
there's-
him being a professor.
There's no actual picture of him on
There's
the web.
There's no picture. All right. Okay.
There's no picture for any of them.
Okay.
Oh, sorry, I'm a little bit confused. The head of research that we're meant to be bringing along or pretending to be, is that from 007 bytes or is it from Quantum?
007.
Doubles.
So we're bringing from 007, we're
Professor
bringing
John.
the professor, and we're bringing the guy from 007 pretending
Max
to be
Sinclair.
Mark Sinclair.
Yeah, Max.
That's right. I was just checking because I didn't know if it was meant to be the head of research from the other company to make the swap, but that's fine.
The only thing that I would be slightly concerned about is that I've just had a look at the various information on the two companies that are currently of interest to us. One of them being Qubit 64, the other one being 007 Bytes. It seems that 007 Bytes is actually going through a fair amount of employees. They do seem to be changing on a regular basis. I would be rather concerned that the head of research for 007 Bytes is a gentleman by the name of John Markham.
Professor.
Professor John Markham. What would be maybe he is looking at changing sides along with Max Sinclair. It seems very weird to me that Qubit 64 would actually ask for a head of research to be present on the handover as well. Don't you think? Don't you?
That's what I was thinking. Yeah, that's what. That's why I thought it was the Qubit 64 was meant to be bringing along the head of research, but no, obviously it's not. It's
Well, I mean, my only concern would be if I'm going to be masked as this Professor John Markham as the head of research for 007 Bytes, and I get sconded. Then I do have certain how shall I put this, responsibilities which I can't be away from for a long period of time, normally more than sort of like 45 minutes. So it would pose various problems for me.
well, obviously we will try not to let that happen. It's at the moment it's not in any of the details, but it is obviously a possibility. I think we would need to come up with a contingency plan in case that this is the case. That Billy Bob, Athena, and I try and rescue you at another opportune moment.
Billy Bob playing with computers?
No, it's out of the question that I could be away from my responsibilities for any period of time. So yes, we
So
may have
are
to.
you saying you don't want to be disguised? So shall I be disguised in that case, or shall we let Billy Bob play with the computers?
Billy Bob play with poodles.
Studley can mask anybody and put the spell on, I think, and then actually sustain it at a distance.
Yeah, I could even be there and sustain it as well. It's not a problem.
So it could be that you put it on while it's Hector's in the van, and then or the car or the helicopter or however you're going to be transported, and then actually keep that sustained. Is that right? Even if he gets out and goes off somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is there any other information about when the job's supposed to take place, where it's supposed to take place, where we're supposed to go? Are we supposed to approach 007 Bytes, or are they going? Does it say wait for further contact?
It's a good point, but at the moment, no. But you tend to figure out that would probably be in the process of being set up now, because until somebody's actually accepted the job, none of the arrangements can be made. So it's only when somebody accepts the job and says, yes, we'll do it. Now they're probably making the arrangements, and we'll get back in touch with you at a suitable moment and say it's going to happen a week on Tuesday. I think you sort of like figure out that if it was in the original plan, the job, nobody could have got it, and then everything would have been set up to go ahead, and then that would be a little bit of a waste of time.
Okay. Is there
right.
Before it goes any further, Studley just wants to do one more search on the Matrix, and he wants to see whether or not he can bring up any information on Max Sinclair. Maybe see whether or not he was on any of the news channels about his disappearance or his
cool.
Abduction, anything like that.
Abduction.
Yeah. What did I say? Abduction. 4 successes.
It's there are 2 stories in the local media. One celebrating his development of a new type of agent, which apparently could actually seek out active viruses and destroy them instantly. Hector, if you want a copy of it, I can send it your way.
I don't think Hector would appreciate a copy, but Longshanks would appreciate a copy after what happened today.
That is so funny. I can say that this is not actually, I actually wrote this a while ago, but it just seems appropriate.
So it's you who sent that email to my workplace.
I think he did, just so that it could tie in with his adventure.
I think he did, yeah.
Just a bit of background.
So, Max Sinclair from Qubit 64. There's news about him actually developing. It's not in the main news story. It's sort of like computers,
information and technology.
Subsection. Computer errors, RSS feeds, and it says that he actually developed he's rumored to have developed a new type of agent which could actually seek out active viruses and destroy them instantly. There's also something a few days after that report that states that Max Sinclair mysteriously vanishes from Qubit 64's premises. There's a bit like the Crime Watch thing, if you have any information of this, then please contact us on 91442716.
What will be interesting is to find out how Qubit 64 knew it was 007 Byte that has taken him. And obviously, if Mark Sinclair hasn't actually given up any of the information, and he even under torture, and Hector will double check on his notes to make sure that was right, then he must be pretty tight-lipped.
Or he had a very weak heart.
We died firsthand, yeah.
Yeah.
But Hector's going to give him the benefit of the doubt in any case.
So, is there anything else that you need me for at the moment, or can I wait to be contacted by you?
I think we that's all we can really realistically plan for the moment until we get more confirmed and more precise details. and then we should all meet again and work on the plan that we have started already, and get the final details worked out. At that point.
Okay, so I shall await your I shall await to be contacted by you then.
Say hello to your mother for me, Stanley.
My sorry.
Studley's going to go out, and as he's walking off, you hear him making a concourt saying,
Yes, I'm on my way back now. I shall be with you shortly.
His mother's probably in bed by now, but Billy Bob and Hector, you do hear Studley's little motorbike going off, and he's driving off probably in first gear when it should be about in fourth, so it's not like going like that as he goes down the road.
Hector, and he assumes Billy Bob will go back to their apartment and await the further phone calls. And Hector will take this opportunity to make sure that all his equipment's in top notch. His armor hasn't got any bullet holes in it, or any current bullet holes, and that sort of thing. And also make sure the moths haven't got at it.
Okay, so it's early, about 10 o'clock the next morning, probably after business has started in the relevant companies in the corporate world, that you all receive a second data package through your comm links relating to the job at hand. It seems a bit strange, and it sort of like says, it almost like says, pick up the van, and there's a location, and it says 9 p.m. Further instructions to follow. There's also a video file that appears to have a video of a rather elderly man. You figure probably in his late 60s, early 70s. And he is sort of like stood very still, dressed in sort of like his white coat, etc. And there seems to be cameras spanning, going round him at various levels, and coming back. And every now and again, you hear him sort of like muttering about, why do I have to stand here? Like that, and then you attached to it is a voice file that sort of like has him sort of like speaking all the recognizable vowel sounds and in phrases, and sort of like saying things like, I am pleased to meet you, welcome, thank you, and things like that on, and sort of like general information.
The quick
does
brown,
it have a name?
The
Does it have
quick
a
brown
name?
fox is the whatever. Yeah.
The quick brown fox is for typing, so it's more of the all the vowel sounds. It has a name. It's Professor John Markham. The video file, and it says that the van is ready to be picked up as stated.
Hector will make a group call to Studley and Athena, and he's not going to call Billy Bob because he's going to be sitting next to Billy Bob or standing next to Billy Bob posing in the mirror.
Billy Bob won't hear the replies, in which case, just so.
Well, I've got it. Yeah. Can I have it on voicemail? Not voicemail. Loudspeaker.
Yeah, so it's probably better just to include.
I'll include him. Yeah. That's fine. And say, I see we've got the latest information. Not great for our plan.
Studley doesn't answer. It just rings out.
Hector will follow up with a message saying, Studley, we need to chat. We've got the latest information. We need to be ready before 9 p.m.
Athena picks up the information, and you hear a dulcet tone sort of like waft over the airways in a typical way and say, so, she says, now then, she says, where will we be going? How would you like me to assist you?
Well, we haven't been given the exact location as yet, so I think the best thing would be for us to meet somewhere beforehand, and then pick up your surveillance drones, or how you best think, unless you can think of a better way that we can use your talents, and then we can.
Oh no, my darling, she says, my darling, surveillance is what I was made for.
In that case, yeah, we will pick up.
And you almost, she puts that winky face through the text as well.
In that case, we will pick up your valuable assistance through your surveillance at that point and make our way to the van. Hopefully, we would have met Studley beforehand, and then he will, hopefully the video file that we've been sent will be enough for him to do his thing.
So you shortly receive some GPS data and a time to pick up the van, which is 9 o'clock tonight. It's currently about 10 o'clock in the morning, and Athena sort of like recognizes the GPS. It's almost like in a downtown area of Southside, and she sort of like says that she will be able to provide surveillance drones at that position. It's not far from her. She says it's not far from Olympus, so she's quite happy to fly them there herself. It's about 6:30. It's about 6:30 that Studley answers the comm call.
Yes, I did receive the data file. Sorry, I was indisposed. Do we have a plan?
I think for the moment, as we've only got the data file, and that only gives us the GPS location of the van, and that rather extensive video. Do you think that will be suitable for your requirements to cast your thing?
Well, yes. I mean, I can certainly do something from that. I have studied it for a slight period, so yes, I will be able to use my masking spell. That's of course as long as if it's 007 Byte is on board with this.
Studley, sorry, just so you know, you think you will be able to mask with it, but you're not. It wouldn't be as good as sort of like meeting the contact in person, so that there might be some glitches here and there with it, but generally you think you can make a good job of it. Normally, as you said before, you would actually want to meet the contact or the person in person, to make a purely good physical mask spell. But you think this one should be okay? And that's about it.
Okay, so I think we will as long as everyone is happy with this, Billy Bob will be driving, and then during the meet will be sitting still in the van, but being ready to jump into action if everything's to go south and bail us all out. If we have Athena flying Overwatch when we pick up the van, and then following us in the van, and flying Overwatch and surveillance during the meeting, and then obviously tailing us back once we have made the exchange and collecting the money for our drop-off point. Studley, I assume you're still not wanting to be masking or disguising yourself.
Well, I mean, I would. It all depends on how quickly it's going to be over with. But when I was talking about the plan, I was referring to more how we would get into the van. To be honest with you,
I think if you're
I
happy,
have
Billy Bob
looked
and I
at
can.
the area where we're supposed to be picking it up, and to be quite frank, it's not the type of area that I would want to be leaving Jessie Bell.
That's it. That in that case, I'm sure Billy Bob and I can come and pick you up and drive you there in Billy Bob's baby, Rusty Rosie.
Oh, okay. Well, if you can pick me up from the end of the street, that would be fantastic. I'll tell you which junction it is, and if you give me the approximate time, I will try to be there.
Okay. So once, we. How long would it take us to get from ours? Sorry, this is a question to you, Winwills, out of character. Sorry, I know you don't like that phrase. How long would it take to get from Billy Bob and mine's place to the pickup point to pick up Studley, and then from there to the van, so we know roughly what time to leave?
So, what time you meant to get the van at 9 o'clock? So, what time do you want to get to the van?
Well, we want to get to the van a bit before, like 10, 15 minutes before, to check the van over, park up Rusty Rosie in a safe spot.
Yeah.
Check we're not being followed, type thing.
Yeah, so that's absolutely fine. You can backdate it. You've got your geo sat nav, so you can sort of like figure out due to the GPS, you can figure out what time you need to pick Studley up and get Rusty Rosie to the GPS coordinates in time for about a couple of minutes towards 9, as long as Billy Bob does a good job of driving.
I don't think he's. I think he's playing Minecraft.
I think he's digging a tunnel in 7 Days to Die. To be honest, putting his late shift in.
He's not in the game.
I'm just waiting for his roll. Oh, there we go. Yeah, he makes good time, and as you drive to the GPS, you get a message from Athena, and she goes, "Hey," she says, "it's a very interesting location you're going to," and you pull up what appears to be some kind of almost like parking lot.
Mighty maps.
Yeah, it seems to be some kind of. There seems to be some kind of up at the top. This part up here seems to be almost like a. It seems to be some kind of small restaurant or bar at the corner, and then there seems to down here. If you can see where I'm pinging, yeah.
In the middle of the parking.
You sort of like get that view from Athena overhead in her drones, and she sort of like says, "It's a bit of a strange place that they've sent us to, gent. It seems to be a parking lot, boys."
It is a bit. Yes, and obviously we're still picking up the van, but it is probably best to be on alert now, everyone, just in case.
Right. Okay. Alert. Yes, I can do that.
Inmost, do we know which is which? I'm guessing that this one's the van, but unless you say otherwise, is that the van that we're going for?
You're not too sure?
Oh, okay.
Billy Bob's got his eye on this flashy blue car here. He thinks that's...
And there was me thinking he had his eye on the bright yellow one with the
No, that is
bonnet scoops.
So we're just picking up a vehicle here.
That is what the instructions say. We're kind of being left in the dark for a lot of this. Hector will get out his
seems a bit
comlink.
weird to me.
Hector will get his comlink out and wait for the next instruction.
I think the instruction was to pick up a vehicle.
That was indeed the instruction to pick up
Yeah,
the van.
I thought that's what I was. That's what I was double checking with you, because obviously we're picking up the van, but there's more than one van on there. So I was-
Well, let's. I'll go and have a look, shall I? And see which van it is. I think that's probably the best thing to do. Do you want to wait here?
No, Billy Bob's going to come down with you.
Studley's. Is this just a normal entrance in? Is it?
Yeah, it certainly is a normal entrance here. And as you turn round the corner, just back up Studley a bit.
Billy Bob was in my way.
You turn around the corner, and there seems to be some kind of definitely corporate dressed guy by the barrier, and he sort of like he's pacing up and down. You figure he's got some kind of light pistol armament. He's quite professional in the way, but you also sort of like think he's not. So you don't think he's a corporate security guard. You think he's probably more of a parking attendant, but he's pacing up and down, and you can see that there's a barrier that is definitely down in front of him, and he's sort of marching up and down on the opposite side.
Is he wearing a uniform?
Yes, certainly is.
Does it have any logo or insignia on it?
Well, from where you are at the present moment in time, you can't see that. Because he is, you see, he's like this to you.
I know, because I don't have your camera on.
You see, he's walking like that,
right.
and then turning around and coming back the other way.
Studley's going to stop, and he's going to look at Hector and push his glasses onto his nose. Then he's going to look at Billy Bob.
Billy Bob's going to walk up.
Hex will follow and join him.
The guard immediately turns round to you, and you see he seems to on his lapel, his chest, left chest pocket, there seems to be the sign of a white van. Okay, and the wheel has something yellow round it. He says, "Evening, gentlemen.
Good evening,
Please
sir.
state the purpose of your business."
We are just on our way to pick up our van, that's all.
Your van? What is your identification of your vehicle, please?
9 o'clock appointment.
He sort of like, he brings out a little data pad, and he looks down and says, "I'm sorry, Mr." He gazes you up and down. And then he almost like coughs out the word orc. He says, "We have no vehicle registered to 9 o'clock appointment." Puts his data pad away and just starts to sort of like walk up and down again.
Billy Bob's sad.
Hector will say, after that, he will put his hand on Billy Bob's shoulder and say, I think what my verbally challenged friend here forgot to say was that we are collecting our van, and then to get to a 9 o'clock appointment.
The guard
So
sort
in
of
order
like
for us to drive them there.
the guard sort of like comes over to you, Hector, and he's obviously human, and he sort of like says, "Rather unusual when meta-humans make fun of other meta-humans, but," he says, "I know what you mean. These orcs can be rather, shall we say, dumb."
Billy Bob's sadder.
Hector will keep his hand on Billy Bob's shoulder for a fraction of a second longer, hoping that conveys that do not stab him in the face with your hand blade. And then will remove his hand and say, my friend here is slightly better than in that department than others. He has a lot more words that he can use quite happily to convey his meaning. I think you just caught him at a bad time.
He sort of like leans forward to you and says, "Do they only have one syllable?"
Hector will not laugh, but he'll give a sideways smirk with the side of his face that Billy Bob can't see.
The guard mirrors your smirk.
And then he'll. We don't have any information in Wills about the van. It just said pick up a van, didn't it? Or did it have like the license plate and that sort of thing?
No, it just said pick up the van at 9 o'clock.
Hector will say, I believe that we have a van waiting for our pickup, and then he gives his name, Hector, under the name of Hector.
He says, "Your rather dumb friend here couldn't provide me with the vehicle registration code. Do you have the vehicle registration code?" He sort of like looks at Billy Bob and sort of like goes,
Billy Bob's gonna snarl at him.
Billy Bob, just make your composure roll. It's on your front.
Whilst this is going off, can Studley go a wandering, and he wants to walk up this way and have a look down here? Is that an actual door that goes?
I don't see where you ping, sorry. Yeah, that looks like that's sort of like a swing door. That looks like people probably park their cars here and then come up that way to go to the street. There's also a similar door if you scroll to the top of your map.
Right, yeah. And what about if he walks right the way round? Is this just like another down?
So hang on, that's going to take you quite a bit of time. So I'll come back to you. So so Billy Bob, you're keeping your composure, but you're getting quite riled now. You know, it looks like from your perspective, it looks like this guard and Hector are sort of like teaming up. You know, and you're not happy about this. As the guard sort of like says to you, Hector, so do you have the vehicle registration to pick up?
Hector will check his comic, obvious, in an obvious matter, and say, and then he's going to make a show of scrolling through the registration and say, blast, the lady in the office hasn't provided it yet. But so like, I know we're getting a van here. Is this right to come in, because I know what it looks like.
He says, "Well, if you give me the company, then I can look it up." Billy Bob, can you just make a perception roll for me, please?
Certainly can. Get it top.
Yes, it should be under. Let me check. 007 bytes.
All right, just one moment. You might want to tell your friend to step back away from the barrier. I wouldn't want him to accidentally bump his head and break my barrier.
That's going. Hector at this point is having enough, and he's been clocking out of his corner of his eye that Billy Bob he's suddenly stopped posing and flexing and that sort of thing, and he's starting to get a little bit twitchy, And Hector's going to say that's a few jokes are enough. That's it's best not to go too far.
You suddenly notice, Billy Bob, that coming from, I'll put them on for you so you can actually see them.
Right.
Just here, there seems to be another guard coming round, and he seems to be quite roughly holding what seems to be a young lad. From the distance you can see, because this area is well lit, it's not sort of like a creepy area. He almost like has this young lad by the scruff of his neck, and he's just sort of like he's lifted him up so high that his feet are sort of like trailing along the bottom of the trailing along the tarmac, and you sort of like he's the little sort of like the little elf lad, who you figure for an elf is sort of like in his probably late teens. He's definitely some kind of teenager, and you can see that he's wiggling away, trying to get away. He seems to be carrying what appears to be some kind of small suitcase in his right hand, and he comes around the corner, and the guard carrying him says, "Oi, Mick! Look what I found! Messing around by the vehicles." Studley, up here. Yeah, this seems to be another entrance. This barrier down here seems to be down, and it seems to be something that, as you approach from the other side, it lifts up. But it's a barrier that will stop cars rather than people. It would be quite easy for you to navigate round. Hector, can you just make a perception roll for me, please?
Is there any signs outside it? Sorry, is it like a no entry sign or anything like that?
Yeah, there's a no entry sign in front of it, because this looks like where the cars drive out. Yeah, you can tell, Hector, that the guy, the little teenage lad that's being dragged by the other security guard, seems to be a young elf. He's definitely elven. He's quite proudly displaying his heritage. And you can see that he's quite roughly been dragged along by the security guard. You notice Mick, this guy, the security guard, sort of like looks at you and looks at Billy Bob, then looks over, sort of like, yeah, we can deal with him. I'm sure we can. Studley, what do you wish to do? Just make a perception roll, Studley, please. Yeah, so you hear this talking and shouting. They're not actually quiet about it. They are quite vocal and loud.
Okay, so Studley's going to go up the ramp and go underneath the funny thing.
Yeah.
And see what he can see when he gets up to the. He wants to take in the vehicles and see how many are cars and how many are vans.
Yeah, okay then. So it's exactly what you see. This one is definitely some kind of van there. This one seems to be a flatbed or some description that is not parked very well at all, as is this one, and the rest of them are sort of like cars. Okay, back to Hector and Billy Bob.
Hector's just going to wait for an answer to his latest inquiry to the guard.
Billy Bob's gonna stare at this lad as to think, do I recognize him? Is he getting handled a bit too roughly than what he should be? Or
You figure that you're not too sure of the briefcase that he's carrying, what that is, and it seems to be quite out of place. He doesn't look like a posh businessman or anything like that, and he seems to be sort of like very. It's sort of like he's got a leather jacket. He's wearing jeans that are sort of like turned up, and to show his socks and sort of like little trainer boots on. And just roll your logic, double your logic for me.
Double logic.
Yeah, so you just double it up, and then you'll just have to use the skill roll for it. Okay, and then roll your memory. Yeah, you do notice, Billy Bob, that he seems to have what appears to be a wire coming from his temple. And you remember this is what Fays used to have. And you've seen this wire coming out of Faze's head as well, and it looks like it actually goes down. Is actually attached to the little briefcase. The guard in front of you says, "Look, guys, we've got a bit of an issue here, a bit of a trespasser. I'll be back with you shortly." He says, let us deal with this.
No problem at all. Hex will reply, and then he will turn to Billy Bob and say, on the subvocal mics, let's go around the corner, see if we can't get in this way and use this as an opportunity just to get in.
Billy Bob's gonna... Is it Satnav?
No, it's not.
Satnav was more, wasn't he?
Yeah, I would have told you. I would have told you if it was Satnav, don't worry. It's nobody that you recognise. They seem to be taking this young lad towards this room here.
I can't see.
Sorry.
Okay. Hold on.
See it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, hang on. Let's just whiz up to Studley so he can have. Yes, Studley.
Can Studley see the registration of the van from where he is?
Well, yeah, the big one. This one, yeah. Most cars, they don't actually have registrations now. They have that. What's it called when it omits its registration at all times? Planes have it nowadays.
Or is it just like the radio code that it bleeps out type thing?
So it tends to sort of like bleep it out all the time rather than changing a code. So it's what's it called? I nearly had that then. And you
peanut butter.
No. Is it big? Transponders. Transponders, yeah. The cars in this era have transponders, so they're constantly bleeping out. And I think, oh yes, it wasn't you, Studley. It was previous character that when you stole the van. Can you remember when you stole the cultist van? You would have to actually change the transponder in it. So they tend not to have license plates. They tend to have transponders that constantly bleep out what the van is.
Here in the first part of the conversation that Hector had with the guard, Studley wants to make note of the number, and then he wants to send it via comm to Hector of that van.
Oh, of which van? Sorry?
That one.
Yeah, okay, so what do you want to send, sorry?
The guard asked for a registration number.
A transponder
which
number,
I presume was the transponder number. So making a note of it, I then want to use my my comm to actually send that information to
Hector.
Yeah, so you look onto you look at it. It pops up on your as an arrow on your comlink, and you sort of like see it there. You certainly think, Studley, that Athena has probably been able to see this for some time. Because she's actually hovering far above, so she would have had an electronic view of all this. And so you can actually pick up the arrow that is actually transponding that car's, the van's reg, and or identification probably more, and then you can send it to Hector's comlink. So Hector, you receive a comlink call from Studley with a transponder sort of like notification, the identification of of what you assume is a vehicle. Billy Bob, can you make a perception roll, please? Yeah, you can definitely hear something that doesn't sound too pleasant coming from that little room. There seems to be a lot of laughing, and there's almost like the sound of falling chairs and things like that, as if somebody's been pushed around in there, and not treated it in the best way. You get an incoming call from Athena, who sort of like says she inquires what is going on down at the parking lot.
Hector will reply to Athena just saying, just picking up the van. Think Studley's given us the number. Just going to get it now.
Okay.
Okay, Billy Bob's gonna refer the information that was given to him in to Hector and ask him if he wants to intervene.
Hector will look at his comlink to see what the time is before replying.
It's about 9:05, 9:10.
Hector goes, we are running late for this. We can't really afford to blow it. I think the best thing to do is as much as my heart goes out to the little elf, I think we just need to get the van and go, unfortunately.
Billy Bob turns around and said, "Just one punch."
Not this time, Billy Bob. Save it for later.
Oh, Billy Bob's sad.
Hector will then sort of like make his way around the barrier and make his way, looking for obviously with his AR open, looking for the van with the big green arrow or big green arrow on it, and beeping out the transponder. He's also going to send a message to Studley saying, "Stand by, we're getting in the van." And that was
You
also to
probably
Athena as well.
need to get the keys from that office, to be quite honest with you.
Oh.
Actually, when you get quite close, it seems to have been set up to recognise your sin, and you notice that all four doors just go and open up.
Hector will get in the back.
Cool.
I'm driving, aren't I?
You are driving, yeah. I mean, Hex can drive if he needs to, but you're better at it.
It's my job. Am I in? Yeah.
Yeah, no, but you just need to hold your alt down, and then you'll be able to.
Yeah, that's it.
Okay, so Billy Bob, you sort of like get in the front of the car, and you sort of like you look around. There's no steering wheel. There's no pedals. There's no gear shift. All there seems to be is a rather comfy, laid-back chair that you feel you can sort of like just like this, and there seems to be a big hole about this big, almost like a socket, as if something needs to be stuck into it. And I think that is an appropriate time to take our 10-minute break for the 10-minute break. So make sure you go off and get yourself a drink. We will be back in precisely 10 minutes. I'll put the intervening screen on and we can come back and see what happens and whether or not Billy Bob can figure out what to put in the little hole. Okay, we will be back in 10 minutes. So please do not go away. I'll see you. Oh, hang on. I will see you. Stop. Start. Start. Here we go. See you soon. Don't go away.